I'm 41 years old. Married for 12 years. No kids, just a dog and what I thought was a stable, boring, safe life. I used to think boring was a gift. After growing up in a loud, messy family, boring felt like winning. My wife and I met in our late 20s. She was warm, sharp, the kind of person who made a room feel calmer just by sitting down. I trusted her completely. I trusted us. We had routines, Sunday groceries, takeout Fridays, complaining about work in bed. Nothing dramatic. Nothing suspicious. My cousin Mark was around a lot. He'd moved back to town after a divorce and didn't really have anywhere to go. He's 5 years younger than me, more charming, more reckless. Family is family, so I told him he could crash at our place whenever he needed. He stayed over a lot. Sometimes weekends. Sometimes weekdays. I didn't think twice. Why would I? My life felt normal. Solid. Safe. I didn't know that normal was already cracking. Looking back, the red flags are so obvious it makes me feel stupid. But at the time, everything had an explanation that felt reasonable enough. Mark and my wife got along really well. I actually liked that. It felt good to see my family and my partner click. They joked a lot, had inside references, stayed up late talking when I went to bed early. I told myself it was harmless. Sometimes I'd wake up at night and hear them laughing in the kitchen. Once, I walked in and the conversation just stopped. They both looked at me like kids caught doing something minor. My wife kissed my cheek and said, "We're just talking." Mark started staying over more often. He had excuses: late work, too tired to drive, rough mental health days. I didn't want to be the asshole who questioned that. I noticed small things. Her phone always face down. The way she dressed nicer when he was around. How she'd defend him a little too strongly if I teased him. I ignored it all. Trust felt easier than doubt. I think the real build-up was emotional, not physical, at least at first. They bonded over things I wasn't part of. Music I didn't listen to. Complaints about life that somehow didn't include me. Mark would text her during the day. I'd see his name pop up and think nothing of it. He's family. I kept telling myself, like a mantra. One night, I came home early from work unexpectedly. They were sitting close on the couch, not touching, but close enough that something in my stomach tightened. When I walked in, they shifted apart like magnets forced away from each other. "Everything okay?" I asked. "Yeah," my wife said too quickly. "Why wouldn't it be?" I laughed it off. I didn't want to be paranoid. I didn't want to be that guy. The insecure husband who sees ghosts everywhere. But after that, I started paying attention. Not accusing, just watching. The way their eyes lingered. The way silence stretched between them when I entered the room. Something had changed. I just didn't know what yet. The doubt didn't hit all at once. It seeped in slowly, like water under a door you keep pretending is sealed. The turning point was stupidly small. One evening, my wife asked if Mark could stay over. Again. She said it casually, but didn't look at me when she said it. That tiny detail stuck. That night I couldn't sleep. I lay there listening to the house, footsteps, muffled voices, the refrigerator hum. Around 2 a.m. I heard her laugh. Not her polite laugh. The real one she rarely used anymore. I got up to get water. The kitchen light was off, but I saw their silhouettes through the doorway. Standing close. Too close. Not touching, but intimate in a way that felt worse. I froze. My heart was pounding so hard I thought they'd hear it. Then Mark stepped back, and my wife turned away, and I walked back to bed pretending I hadn't seen anything. I didn't confront them. I didn't ask questions. I spent the rest of the night staring at the ceiling, wondering when exactly my life had gone off track. A week later, I found the message. I wasn't snooping. I swear that matters to me, even now. Her phone buzzed while she was in the shower, and I glanced at it out of reflex. Mark's name. A preview. I can't stop thinking about last night. My hands started shaking. I unlocked the phone without even realizing what I was doing. I knew her passcode. She never hid it from me. That irony still hurts. The messages weren't graphic. That almost made it worse. They were emotional. Long paragraphs. Confessions. Guilt mixed with desire. We need to be careful. He can't know. I hate myself, but I want you. I sat on the edge of the bed reading everything while the shower ran. My ears rang. My vision tunneled. When she came out, wrapped in a towel, I was still holding her phone. She stopped dead when she saw me. "What's that?" she asked, already knowing the answer. "Tell me," I said. My voice didn't sound like mine. "Please tell me I'm wrong." She didn't. She sat down slowly, like her legs had given out. The towel slipped, but neither of us noticed. The silence stretched until it felt cruel. "It just happened," she said finally. Those 3 words shattered something in me. I asked if they'd slept together. She hesitated. That was all the answer I needed. Then she nodded, crying, covering her face like that might undo it. "With my cousin," I said. I kept repeating it. "With my cousin." She tried to explain. Loneliness. Feeling unseen. How Mark understood her. How it started as talking, then touching, then one night when I was asleep in the next room. I felt like I was watching myself from outside my body. Like this was happening to someone else and I'd wake up any second. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. I just sat there, numb, while she cried and told me she was sorry and that it didn't mean she didn't love me. That might have been the most painful part. Anger came later. At first, there was just shock. I remember asking logistical questions, like my brain was trying to turn emotional devastation into a checklist. How long? How many times? Did anyone else know? She said it had been going on for months. That they tried to stop. That they failed. Over and over. I laughed at that. A short, ugly sound. Tried? Then I asked where? She looked down. Sometimes here. Our bed. Our couch. The guest room where he slept. Every answer felt like a new cut. I asked if she was still seeing him. She swore it was over. She said she'd cut him off completely. That she'd do anything to fix this. I told her I needed space. I slept on the couch that night, staring at the ceiling, replaying memories I'd never be able to see the same way again. Every laugh. Every late night. Every time I trusted them. I felt stupid. Violated. Replaceable. And I hadn't even confronted him yet. The confrontation with Mark was worse than I imagined. I called him the next day and told him to come over. He knew. I could hear it in his voice. When he arrived, he couldn't even look at me. I didn't punch him. I didn't scream. I asked one question. Why? He cried. Actually cried. Said he was in a dark place. That he loved her. That he hated himself. That it wasn't about me. That last part snapped something. It was all about me, I said. You're in my house. My family. My life. He tried to apologize. He tried to hug me. I stepped back and told him to leave and never contact either of us again. He said, "She loves you." I told him to get out. After he left, I locked the door and slid down against it like a cliché from a movie, except it wasn't cinematic. It was humiliating. I felt small. Like my entire identity had been quietly dismantled by 2 people I trusted most. Family meant nothing anymore. The emotional fallout was messy and constant. There was no clean break, no dramatic ending, just a long, exhausting bleed. My wife begged me to stay. She wrote letters. She cried until her eyes swelled shut. She promised therapy, transparency, anything I wanted. Part of me wanted to believe her. 12 years doesn't vanish overnight. I still loved her. That made everything worse. Another part of me couldn't stop imagining them together. Every surface in the house felt contaminated. I flinched when she touched me. I blamed myself more than I should have. Maybe I was distant. Maybe I worked too much. Maybe I stopped trying. I hated that my brain kept reaching for reasons to excuse what they did. Sleep became impossible. I'd wake up shaking, heart racing, replaying scenes I'd never actually seen but couldn't stop imagining. Friends noticed something was wrong, but I couldn't bring myself to say it out loud. My wife cheated with my cousin. Sounded unreal even in my own head. I started to feel like I was disappearing inside the mess. The consequences rippled outward whether I wanted them to or not. Family gatherings became minefields. I told my parents. They were horrified. My aunt stopped speaking to Mark. Others minimized it, said things like, "People make mistakes," or, "Don't tear the family apart." That made me furious. As if I was the one doing the tearing. Work suffered. I missed deadlines. I stared at my screen for hours without processing a word. My boss gently suggested time off. I took it and spent most days sitting alone, not knowing what to do with myself. My wife moved into the guest room. Then she asked if she should leave. I didn't know how to answer. I didn't want her gone. I didn't want her there. Trust was gone. Even when she was honest, I questioned it. Even when she cried, I wondered if it was manipulation. I realized something terrifying. Love doesn't protect you from betrayal. It just makes it hurt more. That thought still follows me around. We tried counseling. That was my idea, surprisingly. I think part of me needed someone else to witness the damage. The therapist talked about rebuilding trust, about boundaries, about forgiveness as a process. My wife nodded, took notes, said all the right things. I sat there feeling hollow. At one point, the therapist asked me what I needed to feel safe again. I opened my mouth, and nothing came out. I had no idea. How do you feel safe with someone who looked you in the eye every day and lied? Who chose your own blood over you? After a few months, I realized I wasn't healing. I was just surviving sessions, waiting for something to click. It never did. One night, I told her I couldn't do it anymore. She cried quietly. No arguing. No pleading. Almost like she'd been waiting for it. She moved out the next week. The silence afterward was deafening. But also, calmer. That scared me too. The separation didn't bring closure. It brought space, and space gave my thoughts room to echo. I missed her. I hated that. I hated missing someone who had hurt me so deeply. I hated that I still cared if she was okay. I cut contact with Mark completely. Blocked him everywhere. Family stopped mentioning him around me, like he died. In a way, he had. I started therapy alone. That helped more than I expected. Saying everything out loud without worrying about protecting anyone else felt like oxygen. I learned that betrayal doesn't just break trust in others, it fractures your trust in yourself. Your instincts. Your judgment. I still second-guess everything. Dating is impossible right now. I can't imagine letting someone in like that again. The risk feels too high. Some days are better. Some days I wake up angry at a version of my life that no longer exists. I'm still figuring out who I am without the marriage I built my identity around. There's no neat resolution here. No dramatic revenge. No triumphant healing montage. My wife and I finalized the divorce quietly. We hugged afterward. That confused me more than anything else. I felt sad, relieved, angry, nostalgic, all at once. She told me she was sorry. Again. I believe her. That doesn't change what happened. I've learned that apologies don't restore what's been destroyed. They just acknowledge the wreckage. Some nights, I still replay conversations, wondering if I could have stopped it. Other nights, I remind myself that fidelity isn't something you fail into by accident. I lost a wife and a cousin in the same year. I lost the version of myself who believed some lines just wouldn't be crossed. But I gained clarity. Painful clarity, but clarity nonetheless. I know now that trust is fragile, and that anyone who treats it casually is capable of breaking you. I wish I'd understood that sooner. If there's a lesson, it's not a clean one. It's messy and uncomfortable. Pay attention to your gut. Not in a paranoid way, but in a quiet, honest way. Discomfort is information. I ignored mine because trust felt more noble than suspicion. I also learned that betrayal doesn't always look evil. Sometimes it looks like laughter in the kitchen at 2 a.m. Sometimes it looks like people you love convincing themselves they deserve happiness at your expense. I don't hate them. That surprises people when I say it. Hate would be easier. Hate would give shape to the pain. Instead, I live with a dull ache and a sharper understanding of boundaries. I'm rebuilding slowly. New routines. New habits. New ways of defining home. Some scars fade. Some don't. This one probably won't. But I'm still here. And for now, that has to be enough. I'm posting this because I've never told the full story without filtering it. Without protecting anyone. Without softening the truth. Maybe someone reading this is ignoring red flags right now. Maybe someone is afraid to look too closely at what feels off. I get it. I really do. But silence doesn't save you. It just delays the damage. I don't know if I'll ever fully trust again. I don't know if love will feel safe instead of risky. I'm still grieving something that technically ended months ago. What I do know is this: betrayal changes you. Not all at once, but permanently. It rewires how you see people, family, and yourself. I didn't lose everything. But I lost innocence. Certainty. A future I assumed was guaranteed. If you've read this far, thanks for listening. Writing it out hurts, but it also feels like finally setting something down I've been carrying alone. I'm tired of carrying it.